I am Sheetal Arora, Assistant Professor Criminology at Sardar Patel University of Police, Security and Criminal Justice, Jodhpur. And I am going to present a module on special police battalions, armed and other branches. Let's begin with learning objectives of this module to make the learners understand the types of special police battalions in India, to make the learners understand various organizational setup of armed police in India, to acquaint the learners with the laws and jurisdiction relating to armed police and other branches. The police forces in India are usually organized and funded by state government. The government is responsible for policing that varies from place to place, maybe at the national, regional or local level. In some places, there may be multiple police forces operating in the same area, having jurisdiction according to the types of crime or other circumstances. For example, in the United Kingdom, policing is mainly the responsibility of a regional police force. However, special units exist at the national level. In United States, policing is typically a state police force, but a municipality may have its own police force. National police agencies are also entitled with jurisdiction over serious crime or those with an interstate component. The Police Act of 1861 largely governs Indian police forces. The Police Act gives each state government the power to establish its own police force. In addition to the Police Act, other legislation such as the Criminal Procedure Code also regulates the police system. Based on the Police Act of 1861, the Indian police have three basic characteristics. The Indian police force is organized, maintained and directed by several states of Indian Union. The Indian police system is horizontally stratified like military forces, organized into different cadres, and the police in each state are vertically divided into armed and unarmed branches. The Indian police organizational setup has virtually remained the same since past century. It is ironical that the Police Act of 1861 has hardly changed due to change in and around them. Despite the new democratic, secular, socialistic, welfare and humanitarian values vouched for in the Constitution after independence in 1947, the Indian police by and large follows the philosophy of paramilitarism. The Indian Constitution has placed police under state list. The state therefore maintains peace and security within their territorial jurisdiction. There are, however, certain situations which authorize the centre to intervene in the law and order problems of the state, because the centre is under the duty to protect the states from internal disturbances. Primarily, it is the duty of the state government to maintain the civilian police force. Besides the state police force, there are certain police force establishments at the union level, such as the Border Security Force, the Railway Protection Force, the Central Reserve Police Forces, or the Central Industrial Security Force. The police setup in India is essentially divided into following broad categories. First, the general police, which looks after the general police work and assists in crime investigation, detection, crime control, and it's also involved in law and order maintenance and enforcement of law. Second, the special armed forces are paramilitary force which are there to assist the general police in maintaining the law and order and performing specialized duties like border securities, large-scale riots, election duties, VIP and industrial security, disaster relief and general public order maintenance. Apart from these two basic categorization, there are specialized police services which take care of particular policing jobs like railway police, intelligence police agencies, traffic police, women police, border security police, specialized investigative police agencies, armed reserve specialized security agencies. The above category exists at the state level as well as the central level. Now about special armed police battalions in India. The state armed police force of India are the police units that deal with serious law and order situations which require the higher level of armed expertise than normal. It exists in addition to the ordinary police service of the various states. Armed police unit of all states have different titles such as Special Armed Police, Armed Constabulary, Provincial Armed Constabulary, Paridakshak, the State Military Police. Although these titles are different, their organizations, weapons, equipment and tasks are almost same. The central government of India at present prefers state armed police forces nationwide and discourages the usage of the form paramilitary. This terminology, however, does not necessarily coincide with the existing terminology of the states of India. For example, the state of Bihar calls its state armed police force as military police, which contradict with central government definition of military and paramilitary. It has not yet been clear whether such disagreement will be resolved. The state armed police act as a mobile armed reserve on orders of additional commissioner of police or above. They are generally not in contact with the public except during public events, civil unrest and natural disasters. The armed police forces maintain key guard posts and participate anti-terrorist operations. They may or may not carry firearms depending on the type of assignments they are assigned to. Within states, each police district may maintain its team of policemen with firearms competence. Such teams are known as district armed police for local use only. They are not a part of state armed police forces. Armed police, state police force consists of two main parts, civil police and armed police. The primary function of the civil police is to control crime, while the armed police mainly deal with law and order situation. The civil police include mainly the district police forces, supervisory structure at the range, zone and the state police headquarters and specialized branches to deal with crime, intelligence and training problems. The district police force also has armed reserves which are used mainly to meet the requirements of armed guards and escorts. They are occasionally also deployed to meet any emergency situation before the state armed police arrive to handle it. The armed reserve of districts are treated as a part of the district civil police force. The armed police are in the form of battalions which are used as striking reserves to deal with emergency situation. On 1st January 2001, the strength of the state armed police force was 3,72,346. There were as many as 307 state armed police battalions in addition to the 8 companies spread over different states or union territories. A state armed police battalion is divided into companies. Generally, there are 6 service companies in a battalion. A company is further subdivided into platoons and platoons into sections. Ordinarily, 3 sections constitute a platoon and 3 platoons a company. The rank structure of an armed police battalion is different to that of civil police. The head of the battalion is called commanding officer or the commandant, followed by deputy commandant in the second rank. An assistant commandant or a subedar is equivalent to the rank DYSP or an inspector commands a company in most cases. An inspector, sub-inspector head a platoon, and a section is in charge of a head constable followed by Naik. In some cases, there is another rank called Lance. Naik, who falls in between the rank of constable and Naik. The following figure shows rank structure of the armed police. Now about India Reserve Battalion. It is an elite force formed to combat all facets of serious problem of LNO and LWE activities in the state. The primary function of this force is to curtail terrorism in any form in areas where activities of LWE develop into serious proportion and local police forces cannot handle the situation. The IRB is a specially equipped and trained force to deal with specific situation and therefore used only in exceptional situations where the force is not planned to replace the functions of normal armed police. The IRBs was designed on the model of Central Police Force. The sub-inspector of the police and constables of these units are directly recruited from all over India. The unit consists of personnel from different states of the country such as Bihar, Orissa, Jharkhand, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, etc. Now about role and task. Role. The functions of IRB is to handle serious law and order problems and to provide support to the local police forces in dealing with anti-LWE activities when taken place in different parts of the states. Task. The task of IRB is neutralizations of LWE threat in any specific area, engaging LWE in a specific situation in order to neutralize them. Raid on a hostile hideout, cordoning and search operations, rescue of hostages, combating operations, ambush and counter-ambush operations, convoy protection, reinforcing a patrol. Special operations act as reserve training of state armed police personnel in anti-LWE operations, VVVIP or VIP securities, long-range patrolling, road operating patrol, handling of sophisticated weapons and other field and minor tactics. The Railway Protection Force. It is a security force of India assigned with the responsibility of protecting railway passengers, passenger area and railway property of Indian Railways. It is the only central armed police force commonly known as paramilitary force that has the power to arrest, investigate and prosecute criminals. The RPF is under Ministry of Indian Railways. Originally, the force was known as Watch and Ward and functioned under the administrative control of Railway Administration. Later, it was renamed as Railway Protection Force. The members of this force were empowered with the power of arrest without warrant for the unlawful possessions of railway property. The railway property included only those properties owned by the railway administration. However, during course of time, the definition for the term railway property was extended and it included the properties owned by or in the charge of or entrusted with the railways. The offenders are booked under the Railway Property Unlawful Possession Act 1966. The Railway Protection Force has a separate administrative system and functions under the supervision of the Railway Administration. Evolution of RPF 1855 to 1861. The vital channel of national communication and economic progress has been a major concern of the Government of India. That goes back to the times when the railway instigated their operations in India in 1854. Since railway have a linear territory, navigates through interstate lines, a strong security system has become a matter of concern. Nevertheless, maintenance and security of railway can be traced back to 1854, when East Indian Railways employed certain staff designated as police to provide its own force by enacting the Police Act 1861 and set up a contingent for the security of the railway with the owner companies bearing their maintenance. The railway companies exercised full control over the police force. 1861 to 1956, the Railway Police Committee in 1872 recommended to organize railway police into government police, the precursor of GRP for law enforcement, and company police, the precursor of RPF, for watch and ward duties in railways. The actual separation of duties came into effect in 1881. By 1882, due to formal division of the police force deployed on the railway into government police and private companies police, the railway companies directly hold the responsibility of protection and security of their property and goods assigned to them by public for carriage. For this purpose, they appointed chokidars for various departments and placed them under authority of their local departmental heads. However, with the increase in commercial traffic and consequential rise in the incidence of theft of goods entrusted to railway for carriage, the chokidari system after the First World War was restructured onto watch and ward organization under a single superior officer designated as superintendent and continued up to 1954. The Railway Police Administration thus functioned under three different systems: the district system as a part of district police, the provincial system for each province, and the railway administration system. A separate railway police was formed for each railway administration. Recommendations of Indian Police Commission 1900-103, the provincial system received acceptance on recommendation of Railway Police Committee 1921, and thus present GRP came into existence. The company police was changed into RPF in 1957, passed through watch and ward phase from 1872 to 1954, and as Railway Security Force from 1954 to 56. RPF was given limited legal powers under Railway Stores Unlawful Possession Act. 1957 to 1985, the force since 100 years though are being used for providing security to the vital artery of national communication and economic progress, did not have any legislative status. The government therefore constituted a special inquiry through Director Intelligence Bureau, Ministry of Home Affairs, who in his reports in 1954 highlighted the necessity of organizing the watch and ward on a statutory basis. The Railway Board in July 1953 appointed a security advisor to the Railway Board for working out the details for the reorganization of the watch and ward departments. The security advisor, in consultation with the Ministry of Home Affairs, recommended to form an integrated, well-organized force based on the model of police with adequate supervisory staff, specially trained to mend the particular aspect of crime that were relevant to railway property, to work in close collaboration and act as a second line to the state's police, as well with whom under the Constitution policing on railway rested. This, however, led to the RPF Bill for the better protection and security. It was then on 29 August 1957 that a Railway Protection Force Act was enacted by the Parliament, and Railway Security Force was renamed as Railway Protection Force. On 10th September 1959, RPF rules were made, and in 1966 RPF regulations were formulated. In the meantime, Special Emergency Force has been raised from the existing strength of RPF during Chinese aggression in 1962, specially assigned the task of protecting trains in border districts. In 1965, the force was renamed as Railway Protection Special Force. In 1966, RPF was empowered with legal powers for better protection of railway property by enacting Railway Property Unlawful Possession Act, while the provisions of RPF Act felt that the need for maintenance of an effective and disciplined force, the RPF rules and regulations lacked judiciary power. The RPF Act, therefore, in 1957 was modified by Parliament-wide Act No. 60 of 1985 on 20 September 1985 for the constitution and maintenance of the force as an armed force of the Union. RPF Rules 1987 was framed for carrying out the purpose of the Act. Government Railway Police. The GRP was also responsible for carrying out the functions of policing and controlling crime on the railways. Though GRP is a part of the state police, a force expenditure on this establishment is shared by the state government and the railways. An officer of the rank of additional DG or IGP is entrusted with responsibilities to supervise the work of GRP. The jurisdiction of the Superintendent of Railway Police District may cut across the boundaries of several districts. GRP should not be confused with Railway Protection Force. Railway Protection Force is a central armed police force raised and maintained to guard railway property. The RPF is under the control of Ministry of Railways, Government of India, while on the other hand, GRP is a part of the state police force. In conclusion, the specialized police forces over the years have been supplemented to cover investigation, intelligence, and the problems of specific groups. All 29 states of the country have their own armed police battalions organized as paramilitary forces. For instance, in Bihar, there is a tendency of militarization of the police, where these units are called Bihar Military Police. The civil police armed units also have the so-called reserve police battalions exist in every district. Furthermore, to the civil police and armed police under the authority of 29 Indian states and 7 union territories, there are 7 national police forces, the central police forces that fall under the Ministry of Home Affairs. The Ministries of Defence and Railway also maintain the independent law enforcement agency. India thus has approximately 2.4 million men and women engaged in official policing.